and Casey's nephew Ethan is the dashing ring bearer. Ellie and Ethan live in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Blair and Casey would also like to thank their parents for all their support. So I'm going to ask that you please stand when I call your names. Blair's father and stepmother, Greg and Barbara. Blair's mother and stepfather, Kay and Sherman. Casey's mother and stepfather, Mary and Terry. And Casey's father and stepmother, David and Holly. So now, according to the script, we are coming to what they call the address. I'm calling it the homily because I've always wanted to give a homily. And I'm not sure what that means exactly, but it seems like something a reverend should say. Given with how smooth I've been in the introduction, you're probably all going to be surprised that this is the first time I've actually married a couple. Actually, Blair was surprised to hear that too. She was under the mistaken impression that I've done this before. But this is the first time. I don't want to get defensive. I make myself defensive sometimes, but this is the first time where the couple starts off unmarried, and if all goes well, by the end of the ceremony, will be transformed into a married couple. I wrote down. I was telling some friends earlier, I'm trying to become more creative in my language. I said like two caterpillars, I guess becoming butterflies, but then I couldn't figure out whether it would be becoming one butterfly or two butterflies. And so the thought just got kind of lost there. But I think once I do this a few times, I'm going to come up with the perfect imagery. Anyway, this is the first time that I have given this, and it's the first time as a reverend, which I feel. Well, it makes me think of. I've seen Spider-Man, and in Spider-Man, we learn that with great power comes great responsibility, and I feel that I've got to make it somehow more profound than my normal wedding speeches, which generally are fairly superficial, and so I really have tried to put some thought into this and come up with some good ideas, which is not easy because I guess I'm generally a superficial person, but nevertheless, I looked back on what I've said in the past at weddings and at wedding speeches, and the one theme that seems to come up in all of them, but I don't think it makes it any less special in any of them, is at some point I always allude to or propose that if in the future the couple were interested in a threesome, I would be up for it. And I didn't know if that would be appropriate to say as a reference. I felt in the past, the reason I think it's important because what happens is when you get married, there's this general belief in our society, it's not one I ascribe to, but it's this feeling that the love life is lost, and we've hit the peak of our attractiveness. And I think it's important to remind the couple that as far as I'm concerned, you haven't. And you just have to say the word. And so even though I was reluctant to talk about it because of my new status, it seemed particularly, in some ways, inappropriate not to mention it, given how pretty both Blair and Casey are. What happens next in the speech is difficult to say because whenever I started thinking of the threesome, it actually trails off after that. But I did have a few thoughts that were a little bit more serious.